Good afternoon. Ding dong, ding dong. Time is up. Okay, attention. We're going to get started. Okay, so thank you for coming. So we are having a very special section this afternoon. So we want to welcome all the family, parents and kids to join because we are going to have fun time, looks like, eh? So we just want to special welcome Pastor Daron again and his wife, Lisa. And before we start, we're going to invite David to come forward and give us an opening prayer, okay?
Well, firstly, I'd just like to welcome everyone here today. This is a little bit different from what we've been doing. For the last few weeks, we've only had the adults, and the kids must be wondering what are the parents doing up here. So this is a good chance for. So it's a very interactive section. So I'd just like to pray that you guys will all have fun. So let's close our eyes for prayer. And 3, 2, 1. Dear God, well, I'd just like to thank you for this Holy Sabbath, Lord, that we can come together, we can get to know more about you, and Father, please help us to work together as a team this afternoon, and go home with a big smile today. For we ask all this in Jesus' name, Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Without further ado, let's give the time to Pastor.
Thank you very much. That's your mic, Kim. Yes, so it's good to be with you again this afternoon for this interactive session, which involves both adults and children. So we're going to give some content, but as we give the content, there's going to be challenges that the children have. And for the smaller children, maybe some of the parents want to get involved and help them with that challenge as well as we go through. So there's 3 sessions. The first session is parenting boys and girls in the rat race. The second one, our main session, which our longest session is about resilience, and the third session is really a balloon kaboom and bringing it all together, where we're going to make our own balloon as well for that last session. So that's where we're going. Lisa, do you want to start our first activity or get into some content first?
Maybe our first activity.
What's our first activity?
Cards.
Okay.
Okay.
That's your one that Lisa set up. So, again, there's not enough for everyone. You might want to get together in 2s or 3s and work on this one, children, as we talk to the parents. What's the challenge?
Okay, so this doesn't have anything printed on either side, people. You've got to imagine that it's blank. But it's the only way I could get lots of cardboard in the shape I wanted and coated so that it doesn't bend easily. So this is a pack of cards, which means we'll have about 52 pieces of card, and I want you to use them to build me a house of cards.
How high?
Whoa, as high as you can manage to make it.
As high as you can go. So
now the challenge is, look, they're floppy.
Oh, so they're not resilient.
They're not that resilient.
So we're going to make them resilient.
So you can see, yeah.
So the idea is to whoever builds the tallest tower. Can they talk while they do it?
A little bit, but
Quietly.
just quietly keep it down so mum and dad, who are old like me, well, I'm older, and we're getting deaf. So just keep it down so that mum and dad can hear what we're saying.
How long do they have to build the tower?
The time of the session?
Time of the session. So by the time we finish our first session, which is going to be about 30 minutes, we're looking for the tallest, but it's only 1 pack of cards, not 2. You've got to just use one pack.
1 pack of cards
and
per
build
group.
the tallest tower you possibly can in that time.
And it might be not just the tallest, it might be the one that stays up the best.
So it's one that stays up. It's the one that's the most resilient. We're looking for the most resilient tower. Okay. Okay, so we might look at 1 between 2 for the children, and maybe some of the younger children, there might be an older person who wants to help them as well.
What do you mean by resilient?
Pardon?
What do you mean by
You'll find out. The resilience means the toughest tower is going to hold up. It stands up by itself.
Yeah. Literally, if they don't survive, that's okay.
And you work quietly. So you hop on the floor somewhere and see if you can build only one pack per tower and see how you go. There's another bag in the car with packets in it.
Okay, I've got one more pack here. Okay, let's get this started.
So the first session's about raising boys and girls in the Sydney rat race with some parenting tips at the end for boys and girls. As we said last week, every indicator of mental health and psychological well-being has become more negative across teens and young adults since 2012. The trends are stunning in their breadth, consistency and in their size. And that's Jean Twenge said this in her book Generation, looking at what's happening in generations. Yes?
Are we allowed to bend the cards?
No folding. You can bend them but don't fold them. So...
No,
yeah.
I reckon they can fold them.
They can fold them.
They can fold them.
Oh,
Seriously.
she's changing the rules as we go, so...
No, because what they're doing is they're being creative. And we're not stopping people from being creative.
Okay, so you're allowed to bend the cards, but why don't rip them?
They can. They were cheap enough that I'm not
well, there
worried.
you go. It's do what you want to make a... But, yeah,
Come
the
on.
rules are changing as we go.
I'm into STEM. I actually retrained to teach science and then ended up teaching learning and support, which was my original area.
Okay, so you're allowing creativity, you can bend, you can rip if you need to, but only one pack of cards to build the tower. Jean Twenge said across the board since 2010, anxiety, depression and loneliness have all increased, and it's not just the symptoms that rose, but also the behaviours, including emergency visits for self-harm to hospitals as well. So all these changes coincide with the most rapid uptake in new technology in human history. The smartphone in our lives has allowed non-stop engagement. Andrew, and that's changed when I went to PowerPoint, but that's Andrew Pierpoint. He is the president of the Australian Secondary Principals Association. He says the teen years are more complex than they were a decade ago, and a big swag of students are balancing part-time jobs with sporting commitments, separated families, and even caring for elderly family members. They're all things that the average student does much more now. Do you want to come to that as a teacher, Lisa?
Yes, as a teacher, part-time jobs teach kids resilience. They teach them time management. However, they should not be taking away from study time. And if your children are working shift, they should not be doing closing. I know where I used to be, I had kids who were doing closes at McDonald's and they weren't getting home till 11 or 12, which meant they weren't asleep till about 1 a.m. And then school started at 10 to 9. My kids would go to sleep on the desk. I had another group of students who were doing night shifts and then coming to school, and that was definitely not working. So if your child is working, certainly in year 12, I'd advocate that they do no more than 10 to 12 hours per week.
Yeah, because what Amanda Abel, who's a paediatric psychologist, says that across the board kids are overscheduled. They're growing up with that in their younger years, they become their expectations as teenagers.
Daron and I, because I worked, we didn't live in Sydney, we were really fortunate that our kids didn't need to work when they were at high school. In fact, I'll admit that we didn't allow it. Some would say that we mollycoddled our kids, but they had lots of responsibilities at church and at home. But for them, the priority was that they were to get through year 11 and 12. Obviously, your family situations and circumstances are much, much different, but
I guess what we're saying is don't pack the schedule so tight that they've got no room to be bored.
But, and in talking with a lot of families who are like us, our kids probably got through high school with less anxiety because they had fewer things to juggle. Our kids did church socials, they periodically played team sports, but the biggest concentration for them while they were at high school was to get through school with the best possible marks that they could, because we really valued education. And what we did do during their earlier years was that they had one arts activity and they had one sports activity. So they might have done swimming training and they might have learned a musical instrument, but we only had each child with 2 activities at any one point in time, which meant that we only lost 2 to 3 afternoons per week. So maybe 2 days of swimming and 1 of music lessons. So that's just an idea.
1 or 2, not all of it.
No, and each term they could change it, but we didn't. We weren't scheduled 5 or 6 days a week like a lot of their peers were. And my kids certainly coped with the pressure of school better than their peers did, who were working up to 20 hours a week and were then playing sport on top of that. I mean, how do you do your revision or get your assignments done to a high quality with that amount of outside demand?
Yeah. And also, as I said earlier, they need time to be bored. In fact, when my kids came to me and said, "Dad, I'm bored," I'll say, "That's good. That's where creativity grows, that's where mental health grows, and that's where, just time to contemplate life is very, very important." So we made sure the kids had that time to be bored as well. Justin Colson, an Australian, he wrote this book, The Parenting Revolution, just last year. A guide to raising resilient kids, said that our kids need supportive parenting. That is, positive and healthy involvement in your child's life, where the child feels like she is seen, heard and valued. Now, this comes through consistently, that if children feel seen, heard and valued by their key people in their life, it will go better for them in life in general. And the question often kids ask by their behaviour is, do you see me? Do you hear me? Do you value me?
Now, you might say, why are we doing this now when they're tiny? The thing is, we're building trust for the rest of their life. And child number 2 of ours has been not coping with anxiety. And because we spent the time when they were younger, even though they're on the other side of the world, we actually had some big conversations this week where she's got the support that she needs. But
so you're still parenting him. How old is she?
25. So we're still parenting, but if we hadn't put the time in when they were this age, we wouldn't have the right to speak into their life and say, "Hey, sweetie, we think you need some extra support because you're not coping and your anxiety is really bad." So we now have a happier child, but we were able to do that even though they're an adult because of what we did when they were 2, 3, 4, etc.
Yep. Colson says, number 2, that if they're going to be resilient, they need structure. How we construct our children's lives and the boundaries and limits we develop. Now, that was what we talked about last week, where we start with boundaries here, and as they grow, the boundaries move out here, but there's still boundaries in place and structure in place to provide good parenting for our children.
And as we said, within that structure, we found as many things as possible to say yes to, so that although there were boundaries, they still felt like that they had lots of choice.
Which is what the next one is, allowing autonomy with a higher level of personal choice. As I said last week, it's smaller. Do you want to wear the pink socks or the blue socks? And they have choice within that. And as they grow, those choices grow, so that they feel like they've got a part in parenting. And as I said last week too, when it comes to tech agreement, giving them a choice in what those boundaries and rules are in technology is very important, and helping them to abide by those boundaries means you'll probably be more successful, which we'll talk about shortly. Research emphasises that letting children manage their own media consumption without gentle guidance, scaffolding and structure is typically more effective than parenting control apps or settings controlled by the apps.
So this means that you could say you've got 2 episodes of Bluey, or you've got 2 episodes of Shaun the Sheep. Which one do you want?
Once the 2 are done, that's it. Or I heard one dad did this with his teenage boy, said, "Okay, you've got 8 hours this week on the clock to play games. You can play those 8 hours in one night, or you spread them out over the week. The first week, the boys did 8 hours in one day, and then that was it. They soon learnt that they needed to ration their own hours and how to do that, and to spread it out over the week, and they've learnt how to self-regulate by doing that. But for our kids and for ourselves, be aware of autoplay. Like at the end of Netflix, you finish one episode, next one starts playing straight away. Before you know it, you've watched 3, 4, and I've watched this myself as an adult, that I don't get swept away or swept up in the autoplay where you watch 3 episodes before you even realise it. Or they hide the time so you can't see the time, which are all designed purposely by psychologists to keep, these are the psychologists that work for the companies and want you online. They hide the time, they have auto scroll or auto restart the game to keep you online for longer. You teach our kids about that. Another study, Colson says, parents were asked to be involved with their kids, develop expectations and boundaries together, and give the children a voice on how screen and other activities could work together. So this is coming up with a tech agreement together. The results were astounding. With parental guidance and collaboration, children put the screens down and moved on to the next activity without their parents having to intervene. And it happened that way 93% of the time.
Yeah, again, we're going to use Luca, our grandson.
Yep.
He'll watch his
He's
two.
2.
Yeah, he's 2. He'll watch his 2 episodes of Bluey, and then he looks at you and says, "All done."
Says away.
And we're like, huh? So obviously, because his parents have set the limit of 2 episodes.
He already knows it's going to happen.
2 episodes are done, and then he just looks at you and says, away, you know. So it happens really young. So the earlier you start working on that, the easier it makes the rest of the parenting.
Justin Colson concludes and says, is there a need for filters and protective mechanisms? Yes, there is, but do so in conjunction with a conversation with your child. And that's where you say, these are things we don't want to see, and they agree, they're the things that you limit, they're the things you block, they're the timers you put in place, but it's all part of the conversation with your child, coming up with that agreement with them. Maggie Denton, in talking about boys, one of the most pervasive stereotypes that needs to be challenged for boys is about that little boys are in some ways stronger and tougher than little girls. Boys are different, but when it comes to being tougher and stronger, not necessarily. And that causes sometimes to parent differently. Sure, there's generally a difference in the muscle formation of boys compared to girls. Strength that is physical, especially core strength, is one thing. However, strength or competence that comes from emotional and social maturity is very different. Just because little boys tend to have higher energy levels, tackle more physically demanding pursuits, or enjoy playing superheroes more than most girls does not mean that they are necessarily tougher. And that's why we need to, there's difference in parenting boys and girls talk about shortly, but recognising that boys and girls are the same in other ways, and we need to treat them with love, care and affection in the same way. The early year window is when they shape their stuff, according to Maggie Dent. She's Australian, she's based in Perth, she's one of the most recognised current parenting experts in Australia. She says their self-worth, their identity all happen in the early years, their capacity to regulate big feelings and their expectations of how the grown-ups in their world will treat them. In adolescence, especially with the increasing intensity of their emotional world, we talked about the brain last week, many lads struggle with irrational anger and frustration. We saw this especially in our lad during his teenage years. Often, this has been shaped unintentionally and unconsciously in the first 5 years of life. Sadly, research shows that many grown-ups treat boys more harshly than they treat little girls. They often speak in a harsher tone and assume that boys are tough. It won't cause any harm.
Okay, so I agree with this, but there are times when parents are allowed to use a really tough tone, and that's when it comes to danger. So your kids need to know that if mum and dad aren't speaking in the quiet, calm voice, it means they need to stop and freeze. Because, you know, you don't want them touching a hot stove, you don't want them running on the road. There's things that we can see. So they need to understand that if there's a raised voice, that you actually need them to stop. And you can have the conversations around it and say, hey, normally, but when mum goes, stop, that means you need to freeze because there's actually a problem. You know, you mightn't be able to see it, but we need you to be able to stop. And our daughter, picking on her, she was not so good at stopping, and we nearly had her run over 3 or 4 times in a very short period of time. And friends of ours actually did lose a child who got onto a road because he hadn't learned. His brain development wasn't quite there yet. So our kids need to know that if mum and dad raise a voice, it's not out of anger, it's about a protectiveness factor.
Yeah.
I knew that if my dad bellowed, we had to stop because my dad was always very gentle and kind.
So bellowing was a strange thing.
If my dad raised his voice, we knew that there was a problem. And I think that's what our kids need to understand.
Yep, yep. Meg Meeker wrote this book, Boys Shall Be Boys. Said boys need trees, they need dirt to make into mud and things to smash outside. From the time they are born, boys are orientated to more gross motor skills than what girls are. That's just the way boys are. One thing that aggravates parents about boys is the fact that they like to move. They don't colour in the lines like girls generally do. They leap over couches and they run down halls. So you got boys, you know that's what boys naturally do.
They do, but at the same time I think that we actually should be able to teach them that there's outside where we run and inside we need to be a little bit more careful. And again, it's the danger
teaching an inside
attitude.
voice, outside voice, inside
It's
running,
like-
outside running.
It's like, I'm going to dob him in because he's told the story himself in public. Andrew decided he was going to swing off a shelf attached to a wall in a rental. Now, I'd said don't do it because the shelf will come down and you'll get hundreds of books on top of you. What he did then behind my back, because Madison was doing it too, hanging onto it, and she could twist herself round, swing through her arms and drop down straight. Andrew tried to do it. He's 4 years older, a bit bigger. Well, his body couldn't go through his arms and he fell. Fortunately, he missed the wooden end of the bed, but he landed on a plastic tub on the floor and to this day has great scars across his lower back because he landed on the plastic tub. The tub smashed and the plastic ended up. And of course...
Didn't tell us anything initially.
No, lied. Straight through their teeth. And of course, I knew what had happened. And of course, you know, the doctor's like, oh, Mum, you're a little bit upset. And I'm like, yeah, I am upset, but I'm upset because they didn't tell me the truth, but they did something that was quite dangerous. And so we had lots of conversations about when Mum says not to do it, this is an example of why. Fortunately, the spine was okay.
And that became an early example of what we would use as an example of why when we say don't do something, we mean it, sort of thing.
We mean it. So it's a bit of family legend.
Yeah. But Meg Meeker says also with boys, they develop more slowly than girls initially. Too often they get labelled as having a learning difficulty simply because they are jumping and can't concentrate. As they head towards grade 3 and 4, they do catch up with their female counterparts. You probably see this in the classrooms, Lisa?
We do. It's really important that... Okay, I'm just going to say it. If you can at all avoid it, don't start your kids to the year they turn 6. Mm-hmm. Don't start them at 4 turning 5. They will often cope in the early years. We actually see the problem with this development. Initially, we see it with literacy, and then they tend to catch up. But the brain has problems with nuanced and the grey and white. And that often comes up and is a problem in year 11 and 12. It's not every student who is younger, but it's an issue. And it's also often social issues. So girls who start younger at school have more peer issues in years 10, 11 and 12 because their peers have developed, their brains have matured quite quickly, but the ones who are 16, not turning 17 to year 12, they often have, they struggle quite dramatically. And we also see more mental health issues
So what can we do as a parent now if our kids are already in school and, yeah.
If your kids are already in school, just give them lots and lots of extra support, psychology. Just be a really big listening ear and watch for if they're not coping, and then you can give them the extra support and help that they need.
Yeah.
So, and it's sometimes it's the academic stuff because their brains are still developing to cope with the higher order work and the abstract concepts that you get in year 11 and 12. So do lots of talking around the abstract concepts at home, and that really helps them.
Yeah. Michelle Mitchell, again an Australian psychologist, she said as kids move into their teens, the two strongest drivers for tweens on the threshold of teen is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, are working out their own sense of identity and finding out where they belong. That's the big questions they're asked. So they'll try on different personas and different ideas to try and work out who they are. Often they'll also emulate role models they see as well, which is for the most part relatable and healthy role models are missing in action when it comes to the tweens. Tweens are either depicted in the media as goofy, silly children or as overly grown up and sexualised. Adolescents with very little in between.
I think we'd actually disagree with that, wouldn't we?
As in role models?
No, how they're depicted in the media. Because I find tweens, your year 7, 8, 9s, I find them to be funny, a great sense of humour, they're questioning, they have great ideas. But I think that often adults will see them as the stereotype that's in the media rather than realising that our younger high schoolers, our upper primary schoolers, are just some of the most amazing people you could ever hang out with.
Yeah, that's what she says in the end, is that tweens gravitate towards those who are approachable, who will help them overcome challenges and who listen to them. That includes teachers, that includes pathfinder leaders, that includes parents and church members. They'll gravitate to those who they feel are approachable. And so my aim in life as Pastor Daron is to be approachable. That kids can come, tweens, especially when they get the awkward years, they feel like they can come and talk and, if need be, ask the hard questions. So we're going to move into 7 tips. We're going to do 7 tips for boys and 7 tips for girls. These are Pastor Daron's tips. Even you might disagree with me, which is okay, but these are the tips that research and experience seems to say works with raising our boys into their tweens and into their teens and in young adult years. So what our boys are grappling with: autonomy and independence, hunger to belong, be with, and their search for identity are all things happening for the tweens. And of course there are the brain, hormonal, physical, psychological and emotional changes that are occurring as well. So number 1, well, I'm going to a bit of a water, Lisa, is don't shame them. You want to talk about that one? What it means to not shame our kids?
So basically not shaming them is if they do something silly, don't make them feel embarrassed about it. Have a sit down and chat about why they did it, and then perhaps around why it might have been better to go on another tack. I know when our son did some really dumb stuff, there was never any shame in our family. We might have done a lot of talking around it, but it was about the whys, the hows, and what we could do next time to make sure that it was better.
Yeah, so conversation. And boys, especially girls too, but boys especially feel that sense of shame. They know that in the teenage years they're becoming awkward. They will leave their lunch at home. They will forget their homework. They will miss the bus and do all those awkward things. Trying to realise it's part of their brain development and not shaming, especially our boys, but girls too, but especially our boys, is very helpful. 2, and it's related, especially in their teenage years, let them know they're not stupid, they're just developing. And often the kids will say out loud that they're stupid. Yeah.
I actually wouldn't say they're just developing. I prefer the term you're just learning.
Yeah.
Because everything that you do as a teenager, it's often the first time you've done it. And if you don't have lots of coaching, and even if you've had lots of coaching, you don't know how to apply it. And so I'd say to the kids, when I first started to teach, I did lots of silly things because I hadn't learnt. But I said, as we get older, we're less likely to do things that are embarrassing, incorrect, etc., because we have actually had practice. You guys are just learning. Of course you're going to do silly things.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's not bad. That's just part of the process.
But also watch the self-language where they'll say, oh, I'm stupid, or silly, or whatever, or dumb. And that's where a parent, we can stop and have the conversation and turn it around to, no, you're not, and talk about why they're not.
In the classroom, your children's teachers are probably pulling them or their peers up on that constantly. It's one thing that we really look at, and we're constantly saying to our kids, no, you're smart, you're intelligent, you're just growing.
Yeah. Number 3 is don't forget the loving names for your boys. As they're smaller, we have nicknames for them sometimes, or we have a terms of endearment we use. And as they get older, we sometimes stop using those terms. For me, my dad used to call me, of all things, Harry. And
I thought it was going to be another name.
no, that was the other name. But Harry was a name that I took as a term of endearment. I'd often go down and open the gate for Dad when he was coming home from work and swing on the gate and wait. And he would call me Harry, and I knew that everything was okay. But yeah, we need to keep using those loving names even when they go through their tweens so that they know that you still love them and everything is okay. This one, again, PowerPoint has cut off on me, but nagging them is like shouting into a void. Nagging them is like shouting into a void. When parents go on and on, according to Melanie Greenberg, kids tune them out. Research has shown that the human brain can keep only 4 chunks of information or unique ideas in short-term active memory at once. This amounts to about 30 seconds or 1 to 2 sentences of speaking. Catching our children doing something positive and complimenting them is far more effective than nagging. Now, I know when I go shopping, my wife give me a list. She can give me 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things I remember.
Send me a text after that.
Yeah, if it's 4 things, I'm not going to remember the 4th. Send me a text, otherwise I'm not going to remember the whole shopping list. And this is the thing with our boys especially, is give them smaller things, or you want a list of jobs done, write up a list, put it on the fridge and have them tick it off as they go.
See, Daron,
yeah.
well, you're saying nagging. I know what nagging is, but I know that with our kids and other kids that we've cared for, we haven't nagged, but what we have done is we have had repeated conversations where it's reciprocal,
Yeah,
where we discuss something back and forwards. And I think it's important that one child we looked after for a long period of time, great family, but where they lived meant that they lived with us during the school week. And he'd say, you follow up, Mum gets cranky with me and it's over and done with. I know with you, you're not going to let it go. And it didn't mean that I was nagging, but it meant that we would revisit it, and this was over homework. Mum would yell at me for not doing my homework and then I couldn't do it. You double check and make sure that I come back and do my homework, and you sit down and you help. And so this is where, just because the way that was phrased, it sounded like, oh, well, we say it and then we leave it. You say it, but then you come back to it in other ways repeatedly till it's something that's instilled in their brain.
Yeah, and we do that through conversations talked about by building rapport, shared hobbies and interests, watch your timing and tone of voice. And with boys, there's something about talking in the cars.
It's not even just boys, it's both girls and boys.
But car time, when you're both looking out the window, or side by side doing in the shed or doing a hobby together, is when great conversation happens. For some reason, if you try and go direct, confrontational, it doesn't go well. But side by side in the car, captive audience time, is a great time to have that more relaxed conversation.
And if you take your kids and their friends places, oh my goodness, the things you learn because your kids in the back seat forget that you have ears. It's a really awesome thing to do.
Make your home a safe place for their peers and your family. It's a safe place to retreat. Often they will act out at home because they know it's a safe place, so they may flip out at mum and dad because they know it's a safe place to flip out and that you're not going to do anything irrational with that. And so sometimes we will see the worst of the children when they flip out at home, but
And
that's okay, it's their safe place.
That's okay. We can just hug them and say, I can see you're stressed. We love you anyway. Yeah. You might get really cranky sometimes in your head, but
Make sure they're safe and that what they're doing is safe, and allowing them to flip out a little bit and then to help de-escalate is what you do. Number 6 is marinate them in stories of good men. Sometimes they're hard to find, but there are good stories around of good role models, good male role models, and the Bible's full of those, as well as other good stories around as well of good men. But find those stories and immerse them in those stories. It gives them vicarious mentoring in what it means to be a good man as well. And finally, number 7, love them for who they are, not for what you want them to be. Again, the PowerPoint, change over to PowerPoint this afternoon, change the layout, but love them as they are, not for what you want them to be.
I'm here wondering if my editing mucked it up. No, not my responsibility.
Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look at girls. As I said last week before, our daughter lives on the other side of the world now, which is, I guess, not the best. I raised her to be independent, but not quite that independent. But yeah, raising a daughter is one of the best things I think a parent can do. Boys too, but yeah.
You can see who's really coping the worst out of the two of us.
It's all right. It's all right. So when it comes to girls, yes, same as boys, but slightly different. These go across, but these are what seem to work better with girls as well. Girls, number 1, we need to connect. We earn the right to speak into our daughter's life at 16 when we have spent the years before that age building connection and listening to the little stuff. The little stuff for them is big stuff. And we don't listen to little stuff now, they won't talk about big stuff later. And so finding time to connect is so important, especially with our girls. Any comment on that, Lisa? No? Number 2, for girls, especially in year 7 and 8, belonging is everything. Help them to find their tribe.
Now, the tribe doesn't just have to be the girls at school. The tribe can be nan, it can be aunties, it can be cousins, it can be friends of yours, daughters of your friends. The tribe is that group of women who hangs out with her and who mentors her enormously. So for our daughter, it was her Auntie Annette, one of my mum's best friends.
Like adopted grandma.
Then there's Auntie Ophelia. Some of you might know Pastor Richie Reed. It's his mother-in-law. So she's been one of my tribes since I was 10. It's her nan, it's her aunties. Auntie Elena is the youngest of the aunties, and they have a massive bond. It's her cousins, Kenya and Ali.
She became the head of the tribe as her cousins came along, and then the whole tribe of girls grew up.
So Kenya's older, but Madison probably hung around with them because we lived in different places. So that's the tribe. Then as we grew, the tribe is her sister-in-law, Michaela. They're hugely close. And then, of course, because we're a big family, Michaela's mother, so my son's mother-in-law, is also one of my daughter's tribes. When Madison and I have been knocking heads and we've not been happy with each other, it's Nan, it's Auntie Annette, it's Andrea, it's Michaela. They are the people who've been able to mentor her.
Speak the same things.
And yet often you'll find that they will say the same things that you're wanting, but in a different way. And so that's really important, that we give our girls that big tribe who allow them to vent when they're not feeling very kind about their mothers, and you may not be feeling very kind about your daughter.
You're just looking at these towers, about 5 minutes left before we come and have a look, so make up your mind what it's going to look like, and see some great towers that are happening, and you've tried 3 or 4 times, some of you, and
This one down here I've seen go up and come down a few times, I think.
You get different ideas.
You get different ideas, okay.
Yeah, but hopefully we're learning from this, but yeah, I'm seeing some great
Okay,
towers.
so help her to feel that she's enough because she is. Unconditional love and regard. This is when you really want to strangle your daughter, but you don't. You just put your arms around her and you say, I love you. You are amazing.
Just the way you are.
Just the way you are. Now, this is where dads come in, because dad's going somewhere with their daughter, and I know Daron would do it. He'd like, you're upset, aren't you? I am. Okay, I'm going to take her out. Now, some people would say...
Father-daughter date, let's go.
Some people might say that you're rewarding the daughter for bad behaviour. You're not. They are simply trying to communicate. There's hormones galore. They are dysregulated. Going and having a milkshake or a coffee or whatever they drink.
Going for the drive is the most important thing.
Going for the drive, that is really important, because while they're out with dad, they will tell dad how they feel, why, and child is more regulated. You can come back and you can start all over again.
They say that a dad is the daughter's first love. It teaches what love looks like, especially when it comes to a male, and trying to show that as a father from an early age and making her feel special, telling her she looks beautiful, which is number 5, is really important as well from dads and mums. But number 4 is help her negotiate the online world. As we talked about, the social media does have an impact, especially on our girls. We need to help them negotiate that.
So for that one, I'd just suggest talking to them about it. Like, we're talking about limiting it, and our kids did somewhat self-limited and there weren't as many apps around. But I think in our case, we just talked about it constantly.
But also, when we had access, so we knew what they were seeing, and we could talk about that. So keeping up with the Joneses, is that really what's going on in her life, or is that just what you want to see what's going on in her life? And having a conversation around that is really important.
Okay, and I'm shaking my head here because that's one thing. What I was going to say is daughters or girls will be targeted at some point in time by someone wanting them to sex them photos that are inappropriate, threatening them, threatening their peers, and that has happened with our daughter and her peers. But because we had that open conversation,
she was able to come and talk.
She was able to say, particularly to me, Mum, I have a problem, and then we helped solve it together. We were really lucky she didn't do it, but she did know that we could help her solve those problems. Yeah. And we'd report it, get them taken down. The police would then come in. There was one thing that her peers were targeted. This was in the Hunter, and the police actually cracked down, and there was quite a big arrest over it.
Yeah. Number 5 is help her feel beautiful. This is for mums. Beware of your body talk, especially in front of your daughters. I know sometimes we want to say things about our bodies or your bodies, but be aware of your body talk and their body talk. Help her to feel beautiful just the way she is. And even if you get the body talk right at home, you may need to have a talk about body talk with your extended family. So if Nan or Auntie or whoever makes comments about weight, then they don't hear that at home. They pick that up from surrounding family and then go, oh, I'm fat. Well, so sometimes we get a bit heavier in lives and sometimes we don't. So some of my weight gain was medical stuff that was going on, and we then had to say, we don't want to get too heavy, but being too thin is just as big of a problem. So what Mum's talking about now is to do with her health. It's not actually to do with being overweight. And so we turned it into a medical talk rather than, oh, I don't look good in the latest skinny dress or short skirt or bikini. So you've got to be really careful how you do that. I know in my family, my mum was really quite concerned about weight.
And the more she carried on about don't eat too much, you'll get fat, probably the more I wanted to eat. Yeah. And I had a very fast metabolism. My slightly larger size is to do with hormones, and we're working to conquer that. But I grew up feeling really bad about myself because of my weight. Do you know what? I get those photos out from when I was in my early 20s and in my teens. I was so skinny. In fact, I was underweight. My family has wide hips, or at least my dad's side of the family. I got my grandma Pascoe's body shape, her bone structure. My mum's family, they were straight up and down. Mum had no hips, my sister had no hips. So we really have to be careful about what we say, because just because you have a different shape doesn't mean that you are overweight. And I was so careful with what we said at home, and in recent conversations with my daughter, she's like, Mum, I felt so bad. I went, oh, no, it wasn't because of you, but it was because of what other people were saying in our extended group. And I'm like, So that one was a real eye-opener. And I'm sorry I've talked so much about it, but the voices in daughters' and girls' heads about their weight is really important, and that starts when they're toddlers.
Yeah. Number 6 is regular discussion about the hard stuff, because if we don't have the discussions, they will find out online and other places themselves.
And they'll always hit you up with it in the car on your way to school.
Embarrass the older brother.
Yeah, and embarrass the older brother.
But yeah, learning to have age-appropriate conversations around those topics and getting in early, having young and often is really important, and also having discussion around as they get into the teen years, especially the what-if scenarios, and discussing what they could do in those sorts of scenarios. In the car is a good time to do that.
Yeah, and look, one of the best ways to start the conversation is when your kids are young, use the correct anatomical terms for the various parts of the body, because then it just becomes normal every day. It's not embarrassing, it's not hidden. Obviously we don't overshare with our kids, but we're very straightforward about everyday bodies. Yep, this is dad, this is mum. Yep, you get to a certain age, brother doesn't share the bathroom, that type of thing, because then you're giving kids body autonomy and you're setting boundaries, and that's really important for them to be healthy. It's also important for them as they then develop their own relationships as well with their partners. Okay,
number 7, always keep the end in mind, especially if girls leave some of the sassiness, rough edges on. I want to describe what that means, Lisa.
Okay, so bane of Daron's life, my sassiness and my rough edges, but it means that as women we feel confident to stand up for ourselves rather than to retreat if we're put into a place of danger. It's about knowing our own value and our own worth. And that's really, really important when it comes to choosing a partner. You don't want your girls to choose...
Also surviving society.
You don't want your girls to choose a partner who is violent or who puts them down. You need your daughters to know that that is an inappropriate action. Also, in the general workplace and on transport, if they've got that ikiness and someone does something inappropriate, they then have the guts to fight back. Yeah. And that is really important.
And that's where we also need to bless and pray for our children often and regularly as well. Give girls chances to find their strengths, Justin Colson says, and build on them. Help them to know that they are valuable as people, regardless of what society says about looks and sexiness. Help them to have healthy relationships with other men and women, and if you can, keep dad helpfully and happily involved in their lives. Research tells us that he is a bigger influencer on their well-being, especially with girls, but boys too, but with girls especially, and on their life choices than we had ever imagined.
Yeah, and that's true, because I know that Madison, if there's something really tough, Daron's her go-to, and Andrew will probably call me first.
And sometimes we need to tag team as a parent, even like this week it was, well, you need to have this conversation with your daughter. I've had one, but needs a dad conversation to drive the point home, which is what we do.
And it's, as we say, Madison's 25, Andrew's 29, and as you all know, we've been through one of the, not the worst, well, it's up there probably, 2 weeks ago, our kids Andrew and Michaela lost their third pregnancy at 18 weeks. There was developmental issues that meant the pregnancy ended, and so Monday afternoon we buried our granddaughter, Rosie Grace. And if we hadn't have put all that time in with our... That's why we're kind of sad today. If we hadn't have put all that time in with our kids, I think Andrew and Michaela and Madison, they would have felt very lonely. Instead, they've got the ability, Andrew to ring up to say, Mum, it's just not cutting it. We just need that little bit extra, which he's done. And, we've cooked meals, we've had family meals with our in-laws because Andrea and Neil, they're our family, we're one family. But it's those really crisis points in your life that you need to have spent the past 30 years developing that relationship with your kids. Because if we didn't have that, we wouldn't be able to support them at what literally is... I just have no words to describe how sad we are.
Yeah, but at the same time, we have family.
We have family,
yeah.
But if we hadn't have put the time in parenting, then we wouldn't have been able to be good parents over the last few weeks.
And finally, but most of all, for both boys and girls, love them and make sure they know it every day. If necessary, use words. Those 3 words, I love you.
Every single phone call to my kids, I end it with, love you, or I love you. Occasionally they tell me back. Madison more.
Yeah.
Daron and I, same thing, I love you. Make it a practice because you want your kids to be able to create that habit with their own children and with their own spouse, and they won't do it if we don't model it for them.
Okay, it's time for a break. So let's look at these towers. Lisa, what do you reckon? Is there only 3 or is there more down the back we can't see? That one in the back corner.
They're actually all different,
I'm
and
gonna go
I
for a
love
wonder.
this, how each one is different, but they're all quite resilient.
It's all standing quite sturdy. So the folded card seems to be the trick to make it sturdy, from what we can see. Have you used all your cards or you got a couple left? One left. Have you used all your cards? Yep, okay, pretty good.
Daron, I reject store cards was a bad idea.
Well, I like the towels. Over here, this is probably the tallest I can see so far. I haven't used all the cards again, but yeah. But no, yeah. But it is a very good, sturdy tower. And over here, what we got? We have a stepping stone tower against the pew. We have this one's got quite good shapes, hexagon shapes in the tower.
Daron, you don't knock them over, guys. Daron will come and take some photos.
I want some photos during the break, I'll come and take photos. And look at this one over here in the pew. The stepping stone one here is leaning on something.
They're awesome. Okay, what have we got over here?
And over here, this one's quite a good tall one too. They've actually ripped the cards and they've used it to make scaffolding. We'll talk about scaffolding in our resilience, but this one's going up really well too. And the one at the back has good foundation. They've worked their way up. We'll talk about resilience in a second, but I think you've all done very well, and there's something special during the break. I think Lisa got something special to have.
We got teachers' favourite rewards during our intermission.
So what about 10-minute break? Yep, 10-minute break, then we'll come back for our next session. I want to get some photos of those.
Guys, if you don't want your kids on social media, then you can just put their towels or in the cup. It fell over.
Oh no.
Take big smiles, guys. Fix it.
Beautiful. Pardon? If someone got a photo, I'd love to see it, but yeah. Okay, here we go. Your tower. Oh, you got a photo of it. Well done. Good work. I love those photos. You can send them to me. Well done. Okay, you guys want to fix it, and I'll come back and get a photo when you've fixed it.
Testing.
Okay, Lisa, we're ready to go. So those cards, if you want to keep them, you can, but otherwise throw them in the bin. Most have been ripped or destroyed, so but make sure you pick them up and throw them in the bin. Thank you. Our second session is on resilience, and maybe we'll start with Lisa talking about her wool, and then we'll move into our next challenge. Lisa's got some wool here she's going to talk to us about. We'll use this to introduce the session.
Okay, guys, do you want to come up the front, or kids, children?
Where you can see.
Yeah, where you can see, because I want to show you something. Can I use a hand mic, maybe?
I'm going to use my lapel mic.
Yep.
Can I work with you for this one? Who's this knitting?
We've got a hand mic or? Yeah, there's one. Yeah, Lisa, there's one.
Down here?
What? Talent.
This one?
We've got a hand one over here.
He's gonna set you up with another lapel.
Want a chair or?
Okay. Sorry, guys. Is this working, Daron? Okay. So, what I'm going to show you is about resilience, and I'm really sorry that I actually don't have a drop spindle with me today. But
What's a drop spindle?
so, a drop spindle is like a hand spindle. So it's basically a straight piece of wood, and then it's got, because mine was a Turkish drop spindle, and then it's got 4 pieces like arms that hang out the bottom. And so you tie your yarn on the bottom of it, and then it comes up and it goes through, you kind of loop it around it, and then it goes through a hook on the top.
So it's used to spin sheep's wool.
So what it's used for is to spin wool, and I've got some wool here. This is called fibre.
Where do you get that from?
Can you be my mic stand?
Yeah.
I know I was off one and I thought I managed it. Okay. So what you do with your spindle is your yarn goes up here and you draft it out, and it comes down and down. And what happens is the spindle is actually turning. So you spin it like a spinning top, and it twists this like this.
So it's not automatic. You're going to
No,
do
it's
it.
not automatic. I'm spinning it, and then you spin it, and then you keep drafting it. And because the spinning top is turning, this then gets turned into yarn. And then when you've got a lot of it, you actually put 2, this is called a single, you put 2 lots of it together, and it then becomes your yarn that you can make something with, or you can put 3 singles together to make it a triple ply. Now, guys, this is merino wool.
That's a sheep.
Yep, so merino is a type of sheep. So I'm going to let you feel that, because it's all kind of soft. Do you want to, there you go, you can hold that. So, this is what I want to talk to you about, is resilience. I didn't know to spin, and one of my oldest ever friends has been spinning for a long time using a spinning wheel, which is where you have a wheel on a big pedal and you pedal it like this with your foot, and it turns for you, and as you draft it or pull the wool out, it turns it into your yarn. So this is some of the first yarn I ever made. And look, it's all chunky and it's not real consistent. but that was some of my first yarn ever. So I'm going to toss it over to you guys and you can all pass it around.
So did you give up after that?
I wanted to give up because the way my...
There you go.
Thank you. So the way that fibre came, it was all matted up. It wasn't nice and brushed out and all aligned and beautiful like that. It was really hard. So it would break and then I'd have a thin bit and then I'd have lumpy bits.
You dropped the spin on the floor all the time.
Yeah, I dropped the spindle. In fact, one lady at the Royal Easter Show said she was really good at using a drop spindle. She was very good at dropping it and not spinning with it. So then we moved on to a different type of fibre. And that's this one. So this is the first one I showed you. This is yarn spun. Now, this is usable and it's consistent in size with the odd bump or lump. But you know what? When I plied, so the word for putting the single threads together is called plying, I wasn't really good at this. And they're not twisted tightly enough together. And you can have a look here, for example. Look at this. They don't sit together real well because they're not twisted tight enough together.
Maybe give up now.
No, not giving up. Okay, and this is a sample of how I've used it to crochet. I haven't quite got the pattern worked out, but that shows you how it goes together at the end. So you can pass that round and have a look at it.
So you spun the yarn and now you've plied it and now you're crocheting.
Yeah, so this one I've gotten a bit better. And this one here is a nice consistency of what we'd call an 8-ply that you could make a jumper or socks out of. This one will go into a blanket or something. So you can have a look at it. Now, do you think that I learned how to do this all in one afternoon in January? You think I did? It actually took me 6 months to be able of spinning every day for 20 minutes to half an hour. It took me 6 months to be able to produce really, really good fibre. This might have actually been the first lot I did. Look at all the inconsistencies of that, guys. It's not... Now, this one here, it had some merino and I think some... Daron, is a Wensleydale a sheep?
Wensleydale, yeah.
Okay, so this one here, you can tell it that I've got this. This is kind of probably about a 4-ply. It's what you would call lace weight that you use to make a shawl or something really fancy. So that's that. When it comes off my spindle, it comes off in a ball like this. They actually call that a turtle, by the way. Apparently because it's got the 4 corners, it looks like a turtle that's got its head pulled in. So this is actually this is plied, but it's come off my spindle. So once you spin it and you've plied it, you then have to put it into a skein, and what you guys are all holding here, this is a skein, and it gets tied in 4 places to make a big loop, and I turn a dining room chair upside down and I wind it round and round and round till I've run out of it. Then I tie it in 4 places and I wash it in really hot water and I swish it about a bit because that causes it to felt just a tiny little bit, and it means that it sticks together and it's usable. This hasn't been washed yet, so it hasn't all fluffed up and it hasn't become soft. It's really twisted tight together. But that one, I'm still struggling to get it all the same size, but it's more and more. That's a bit consistent, but that's the turtle. But this one has been washed and you can see how it's all soft and fluffy. As I said, it took me 6 months. I broke the yarn, I got it in my eye and gave myself hay fever in my eye. The cat sat in it and got their cat glitter in it. I dropped that spindle more times than you could ever imagine. I gave myself a wrecked elbow because the spinning thing my elbow didn't like. But guys, I didn't give up. What do we call it when we don't give up? Perseverance. Awesome. Another word? Resilience. Oh, risk taker. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
all those
huge
terms.
because as at school, some of what we do when you're at school is you risk take. So guys, if you're risk taking in maths, can someone give me an idea of what you think risk taking in maths might be? Pardon? Yeah. So maths wasn't a good one. Science we often risk take. And it's calculated risk taking, and that's a really important thing. It's not silly risk taking. But we think and we use all the knowledge that we have in our head with all the knowledge the teachers give us, and we put it together and we think, if I do this and this, then this might happen. And that's what we do when we do experiments in science. We're risk taking. Successful people take risks all the time. Okay, who's ever failed a test? Me. I failed a uni chemistry subject twice. It's the only subject I need to get my full science codes. And I don't know if I'll ever take it because I'm that scared about chemistry. But it was a risk I took, and I'll probably actually go back and I might eventually pass it. My brain just doesn't do chemistry well. But it's risk-taking. And I tell you what, those other 11 subjects I took, I got really good grades. Oh my goodness, the things I learned because I took a risk and I went and did some extra study. It broadened my mind, it helped me learn. Do you think, for someone who's failed something, did you fail it the next time or did you do better? You failed it the next time. Okay. I'm thinking back to another subject. I failed psychology my first year at uni. But guess what? I got a high distinction the next time round. So we learn from failure. Failure is part of resilience. Because if you fail and you get up again, inevitably you learn. If we don't take risks and we don't fail, then we don't learn and we don't look laterally and we don't stretch our brains.
So is resilience getting back up and trying again then?
Yeah, so it's about getting up and trying again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk to you guys and mum and dad about being resilient, just like I was resilient when I kept on trying and trying and trying till I actually learned how to make usable pretty wool. Now, can we give the kids their activity?
Yep, they're down there.
Okay.
Going to work in groups again. So Mrs. Pratt Lisa has been a little bit cruel in that she decided to open these boxes and take the instructions out. So she wants you to work in groups to build what's the picture without the instructions.
So put yourselves into 5 groups because I've only got 5 of these. But we're giving you the box with the picture. Now, mobile phones are banned because we know that
you can't Google the instructions.
You can't Google the instructions because we know that Lego instructions are online. So, where's group number 1? Yep, you 4. Okay, group number 2. Okay, group number 3.
I think there's 100 and something pieces in there, so see if you can make something out of those 100 and something pieces, closest as possible to the picture on the box.
Okay, now, guys, maybe it might be an idea to work at the back of the church because I know there's going to be more chatting than normal. Okay. Some people wanted to have a go at this.
So you have about 25 minutes to try and make that work while we talk to the mums and dads. Or dads or mums want to help, you can too, and listen. Okay, so work on that quietly and together and see what you can come up with. And we'll look at what you've got in about 25 minutes starting.
Do you know what, Daron?
What?
I don't think we got quitters here. I reckon we've got some kids with incredible resilience.
I think we do too.
Okay, let's go.
Andrew Pierpoint, Secondary School Association President, we talked about earlier in our presentation, says, I think mental health has been on a very long slippery slope for many years, long before we ever knew what COVID meant. He says it's been fertilised by heavy workloads, how society sees itself and the pervasive nature of social media. The workload at school is crazy and teens' busy schedules, including part-time jobs, and there is no balance and no downtime.
Daron, do we have a question? Okay, is everyone okay? We don't have any questions? I can't hear. Both of us are as deaf as at the moment. Okay.
Yeah. John Marsden, who is an Australian, he's
He actually passed away last year.
yes, that's what I say, just passed away, but he actually ran his own schools and taught resilience in his schools and set up schools around resilience. He says life is a thrilling adventure. Our children get only rare glimpses of the possibilities to roam, to dare, he says, and to fail. These, he says, are the rights of children. In other words, to roam, to dare, to fail. Sometimes we want them to win and win at all costs. That's what society says, but he says that children need to dare, need to take risks, they need to fail. These are their rights. He says in his book, Take Risks, children are being overprotected and are setting them up for failure as adults. They're ill-equipped to deal with the real world. The problem has only emerged in the last decade. It is severe and tantamount, he says, to emotional abuse. People think they are doing the right thing. They're trying desperately to do the right thing, but they're actually doing a lot of harm. They're not giving the kids first-hand experiences. This is where the terms cotton wool parenting, helicopter parenting and lawnmower parenting come from, where we want our kids to be happy, but in trying to make our kids happy, we're actually making them unhappy in the long term. Any comments on that one, Lisa? Madonna King, another Australian who wrote the book L Plate, is really good about, especially about tweens, said, I think what needs to happen on the parenting side to allow girls in particular to not have the perfect life. They are not learning the skills they need regarding conflict management or disappointment. If we don't develop confidence and resilience, then anxiety is the flip side of that. And also Michelle Mitchell wrote this book on tweens, said we can't ignore the influence that online personalities are having on our tweens. When tweens were asked what they enjoyed most watching, YouTube dominated. These tweens idolise people they've never met and list them as the major influence on their life. You might see that in your school classroom, Lisa.
I do. I'm actually laughing because Madison will let me tell you this. She loved makeup and beauty products and skincare, whereas I'm the kind of person who, if I remember to slap on tinted moisturiser at the stoplights on my way to school, it's a good day. So what we need, and like we realised this and we had lots of discussions around it, and she had skin products but not too many. She moves out of home, she gets married, and she has all the skin products in the world. What she did is she actually upset her skin and developed the most massive allergies you have ever seen. So
her skin's no longer resilient.
Skin was no longer resilient. And it's taken a long time for her skin barrier to sort itself out as a result of that. So I think we need to talk to our kids about saying, they're promising you something, it costs a lot of money, but it's actually not necessarily good for you. You know, a basic moisturiser, wash your skin. So you've got to be really careful that you kind of give them something that they fit in, but don't pander to every whim, because they can actually do things with some of these things that damages their skin. They become caught up in the superficial rather than actually being in reality. Yeah. And so that's a really fine balance, and every child is different.
And Florence Williams says that not only have we got online and influences and those sorts of pressures, but she says we're losing connection to nature, and more dramatically than ever before. Thanks to the confluence of demographics and technology, we've pivoted further away from nature than any generation before us. At the same time, we're increasingly burdened by chronic ailments, made worse by time spent indoors, from myopia and vitamin D deficiency to obesity, depression, loneliness and anxiety, amongst others, from losing connection to the natural world around us.
Hey, our GP now routinely tests all his patients for vitamin D deficiency.
In Australia, say, but hang on, we have lots of sun.
Yeah, so currently there's an epidemic of vitamin D deficiency, and if you're not outside regularly, go and get your vitamin D deficiency checked. I thought I was outside enough. My vitamin D is okay, but we had a period of time, I don't know if it was COVID or what it did it, but I actually ended up with low vitamin D. And so that was a really big shock to me, and it was a big shock to Madison when hers came back deficient as well.
And that then brings in depression and other things as well alongside
so
that.
vitamin D, lack of vitamin D, you really do need it for good health.
And when we're over in the UK, I said this last week, I think, as well, what we noticed was that they're making a really big effort to get kids and families outdoors again, in nature, and the commons are more robust with wilding, they call it, areas for the insects in particular. That insects have collapsed in the UK, there's no insects, and so they're actually growing breeding grounds, leaving the grass grow longer to allow the insects to rebuild their population. Not only that, they're allowing fallen trees to stay there on the ground, not only for animals but for children as well to play on purpose. They've also brought back junkyards in the commons, so pallets get dumped there, bits of timber, hammers, nails, allowing kids and their families to build things and create things and muck around with things again to try and build that resilience and also that outdoor play as well.
Now, I've figured out why in Australia we have problems going outside, and that is honestly the sun, because we're talking about skin cancer, slip, slap, slop, all the rest of it. So what they recommend is early in the morning, later in the afternoon, go outside. Don't use sunscreen first thing in the morning. Don't use sunscreen later in the afternoon. But that will give you enough vitamin D. And it's true, because we were sitting outside at lunchtime during summer and their UV levels were lower than what our winter UV levels are. And I could understand why they spend a lot more time outside there. It's because we aren't just escaping the heat, we're actually escaping the ultraviolet rays. So since we've come back, Daron and I have made just concerted efforts to spend more time outside, yes, to slip, slap, slop in the middle of the day, but we're...
Early mornings,
later evenings, afternoons, we're really trying to get outside because we didn't realise just how much we was avoiding outside as a way of avoiding skin problems. So I don't know if that relates, but we thought, this is an interesting thing that we need to be aware of.
Justin Colson, I'm talking about resilience, here's a definition that he says, and see what you think of this. He says, a person is considered resilient if they are doing better than we might expect given the circumstances they are facing or have faced previously. Something inside them or something or someone in their environment, or both, he says, helps them find the capacity to make it. I like that.
Yeah, and I think that's true. But I also think that if we do have bad stuff happen, that we're allowed to stop for a week or two or three and say, hey.
I think that's part of bouncing back.
Part of bouncing back, I think, is allowing yourself to stop and say, this sucks. I'm sad, I'm upset, I'm crying, I'm grieving, whatever it might be. I've failed, I've mucked up, I've stuffed up. And then to go, okay, enough. I've given myself the time to go, this is wrong or this is not great. What can I then do? And to plan gradually and slowly to get yourself back out there so that you don't stay bogged down and non-productive. So, suppose I should ring UNE and actually re-enrol myself in that awful chemistry, shouldn't I?
That's resilience. For me, it's when I'm feeling down and had a hard time and feeling hit around by society or whatever's going on, it's taking time for me in my hobbies, which is gardening and poultry, and that's the best days of my life are spent in my backyard. In fact, when Theo died, our first grandson, I built a memory garden, and I've been really impatient to get back out there. It needs weeding, it needs planting for spring, but I haven't got there yet. So now I'm going to add to it and make it a memory garden, not just for Theo, but for little Rosie as well. And my way of coping is to plant the garden, weed the garden, tend the garden, get my hands dirty in the garden, and that's how I cope with big loss, like the loss of a grandchild.
And the other thing is, I had a chat with one of my deputies this week, and it said, "Oh, this has all happened, but I'm back at school. I'm not as productive as I should be or could be, but I know that tomorrow I'll be better, and the day after I will be better. But if I took the time off work, which they'd be happy for me to do, I'd go home and I'd go to bed and I wouldn't do anything."
So for you, it's the routines and
So
rhythms.
me, it's the routines, the rituals, and we have to work out what works for each of us when it comes to resilience. But for me, I know it's the getting out there and getting back a sense of routine and normality that allows me to be resilient, to become productive again, and not just to become completely depressed.
Yeah. The other thing I do is when things are really going hard, I make lasagna. And I made one this week. And yeah.
It gets really bad when that's all you've got for like days on end.
It's really bad. I make 2 or 3 of them.
We freeze them. And his lasagnas actually are really good.
Yeah, but it's ways that you find that I find cooking is another way I get my stress out and bounce back by cooking things. In 2014, Andrew Fuller, one of Australia's well-known child and adolescent psychologists, ran a study about resilience with approximately 1,600 Aussie youth. The children who were most resilient almost universally agreed with 2 statements that children with the lowest resilience disagreed with. Number 1, those that were resilient said, "I have a parent who cares about me." They knew that. And number 2, "I have a parent who listens to me." That's what he found in the study, was the difference between those that were resilient and those that were not resilient. The longitudinal research on child development clearly demonstrates that one of the very best predictors of how any child turns out in terms of happiness, social and emotional development, leadership skills, meaningful relationships, and even academic and career success. That's a lot. This is what they found, was whether they developed security from having at least one person who showed up for them. Across cultures around the globe, these studies reveal a universal finding about how we can parent well, if not flawlessly, when kids feel safe, seen, soothed and secure.
And if you stuff up, apologise profusely and make amends.
Authenticity.
Authenticity. We had a meeting with my son's, I've got to remember what it was. Basically, it was his individual transition program because he had an autism diagnosis. They were late and we missed Madison's primary school captain speech. She was devastated. In hindsight, I should have said to Daron, "You go and I will stay." In hindsight, I should have said to them, "You're not on time, we are going, goodbye." That caused so much damage to her.
You didn't show up.
Because we didn't show up and we were the parents who showed up every time and we didn't. And for us, I think that was probably one of my worst parenting memories ever. And from that, we apologised, we took her out, she's forgiven us. It might have taken a few years, but she's forgiven us. But I tell you what, ever since then, we have gone above and beyond to show up because we learnt just how much that mattered.
Yeah. So we're going to go through 16 ways to raise the resilience factor. How are our Lego cars going? Look into that. Anybody got one built yet? Halfway. Good, keep going. Don't give up. Let's see resilience in making this happen.
Okay, so 16 ways to raise the resilience factor for our kids.
Yep, here we go. Number 1, back off, allow them to struggle and fail within reason. Attempts to protect our children, doing our best to keep all difficulty and struggle at bay, robs them of the capacity building necessary for resilience. So in other words, we don't rescue them all the time. If they leave their lunch at home, they're not going to starve. They'll remember it tomorrow. So in other words, we've got to stop rescuing and allow them within reason to struggle and to fail within those boundaries.
Do you know what? I'd let them go without lunch, but I'd take them their PE uniform, because wrecking that PE uniform record, that sucks.
Yeah. Kathy Koch, who is a religious, resilient researcher, said this: children will learn who God is when they don't run from their challenges, when you don't prevent messes or clean up their messes for them. They can discover how to rely on God. You must let your children live so they can see God act on their behalf. Just like we learn a lot about ourselves under pressure, we learn a lot about kids, about God when we're under pressure, and so can our kids. Fixing your child's mistakes shows you're more concerned with their grade than with their ability to learn. It can lead children to believe that success is defined by their final grade or the score on the game, regardless of what they learned in the process.
And I think in Australia it's important to put out there that academics are important, and I really believe in working hard. We're an academic family.
Yep.
Basically, our kids knew that they were going to uni full stop, but our kids were also academically capable of getting there. So we need to be aware of that. But in Australia, there are multiple ways of getting into uni. You can get into uni based off your ATAR after your HSC. If your child does really well in Year 11, and even not so well, you can get early entry to almost every course imaginable. I think I can say it. My niece has just been offered early entry to physio at Port Macquarie, to pre-med at Macquarie Uni, and teaching at Avondale. And there are some things that you can't get straight into that do need an HSC. And then if they completely muck it up,
But there are different pathways.
there's pathways into uni. There is lots and lots and lots of ways. Some children's brains mature at different rates, and so we need to be aware of that. In Australia also, we need to be aware that trades are in high demand. You do well, reasonably well at school, you can get into a trade, and you can earn an awful lot more money than what Daron and I are. I don't want to be money fixated, but unfortunately it takes a lot of money to buy a house and to live nowadays.
Number 2 is don't allow them to develop a victim mentality. Too much adult intervention fuels a victim mentality rather than learning how to negotiate, create rules and follow social norms as a group. Kids automatically turn to adults at the first sign of disagreement and conflict, expecting us to solve it for them. Now, sometimes you have to, but sometimes back off and let them solve it for themselves and maintain a non-anxious presence.
And sometimes too, and we had to learn this one, it's a matter of saying, you listen to your kids and you say to them, well, what did you do? Let's hear about your part in it too. Oh, so you did this and they did this and you did this. Well, how would we handle it differently next time? Do you need to apologise?
Having the conversation.
Have the conversation around it. And we need to remember that bullying is not a one-off incident. That's just two people not getting around. Bullying and harassment is a long-term sustained thing, and it's different. And we have parents who will ring up and only one thing's happened, and it's a normal, kid's grumpy and they snap at someone else. My kid was bullied by. No, this kid was just having a bad day. How can we handle this differently? Obviously, if there is sustained bullying from a group or one child, then you definitely do need to have a chat to your school if you tried everything else. And schools these days go above and beyond to try and stop bullying. We can't always be successful, but we really do try.
Number 3, when it comes to resilience, mentoring matters. Maggie Dent says it only takes one adult who can hold the light in a young person's life to make a significant difference to the life outcomes for that young person. The most important things our lighthouses bring are unconditional acceptance, unconditional positive regard, no judgment, and no unheeded advice or lectures. Obviously, this is different to a parent, but having that person who they can turn to that's a bit of a mentor in their life, might be an uncle, it might be someone in a hobby group, it might be a grandparent, it might be a pathfinder leader, it might be a teacher. but kids need at least one adult who holds the light up to them and shows them the way.
Okay, and I bet everyone can tell. How many does Daron say that kids really need? Do we all remember? Do you all remember how many and everything Daron talks about?
If Web of 5. Yeah.
So we need 5.
If we can find 5, it goes even better for them. And that can be, in a church, we can do that pretty quickly with a Pathfinder leader, with a youth leader, with a Sabbath school teacher,
The
with a
sound
school
person.
teacher. Our son was a sound person, yep.
Their mum, one of their mum's best friends, who is the most unlikely mentor ever, but oh my goodness, my friend Chris, he's been there for my kids and hundreds of other kids, and Chris has just he's got a really colourful life, but everything he's ever done, he's used that to mentor and support my kids incredibly.
And in fact, he turned up to our daughter's wedding.
He turned up to Madison's wedding in the UK.
On his honeymoon.
On his honeymoon. But it's people like that, you just can't write someone off and say, oh, I don't think they'd be a very good mentor. Those unlikely people are often the world's best mentors.
Yeah, and the kids can talk to Chris about anything and everything, and he listens and gives good advice. What I must commend you for is here at your church, I've noticed, I think it must be every week, do you do a lunch every week? That's amazing, because what it allows there is what we call the ad hoc mentoring, where the adults are there talking, the kids are bouncing around the adults, and you're having conversation. The kids have to learn their Bible memory gem to get their ice cream and all those things that occur. Though you are providing that web just by doing that lunch for your children. Plus, it's really good food as well. So
And do you know what I was saying? There's not a lot of dairy in it, so my poor stomach really likes it here.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Number 4, to grow resilience, and this has probably now been said in nearly every session I've done over the last 3 weeks, minimise technology, yours and theirs. The key is variety, balance and moderation. Studies showed definitively that the mere presence of a screen detracts from the quality of our conversations. So when you want to talk, have a good conversation offline and preferably outdoors in bright sun, immersed in the green and blue, is best.
The other thing is that arts and crafts are often devalued or undervalued in our society.
I'm coming to that one, I think. But yeah.
Oh, well, if we're coming to it, I won't
Let's
say
talk about it. No, talk just in case. Talk about it.
Okay, so it's really important. I discovered that most of the beautiful 20-something teachers, incredible people, most of them can't sew. They can't sew a button on. They generally can cook, but there's a lot of crafty things that they can't do. And so we have a program at my school where we actually teach the girls in years 9, 10 and 11 how to do some of those crafty things, and I'm going to be working with them. The other thing is that when we are crafting, it provides an opportunity for conversation and connection. It develops fine motor coordination, which is important, and it's also really good for brain development as well. So, you know, I'm really lucky. Daron has never complained about my craft stuff.
Just collectors. No.
Even though it probably takes up 2 rooms of our not-so-big house, but it has really, I keep losing my words, it provided us with moments with our children that are some of the most valuable we've had, but it's also given them skills that they can take into their own lives, and they can then go, I remember when I was at home, so Andrew can sew. He can take up the hems of his wife's pants because Michaela's 5'0", she's just beautiful. But Andrew can sew up the hem of her trousers when he needs to. I gave them a cricket machine. And so,
You know what a cricket machine is?
So it's an automatic cutting machine. You hook it up and it cuts out all kinds of fancy shapes. It's a really awesome thing.
Not a crafts done.
Vinyl that goes on your T-shirts, all that type of
Lettering
stuff.
for walls.
Lettering. So it's amazing. So Andrew has used that for big camps and he cuts things out and sorts things for Michaela in school. But
We
without...
gave one to Madison's wedding.
Yeah, Madison's got one as well. But it's the problem solving that goes with them. So when they hit a problem in their work, they then can step back and think creatively and laterally because of all those crafting experience. And it's really also just great for brain development.
Yeah, Lego's good as well, by the way, which
Yeah,
is doing
Lego
right now.
is.
But yeah, number 5, fuel connection. Relationship trumps everything. The best thing you do as a parent is build connection. Face-to-face matters. Make time to listen. Genuinely listen. This often happens late at night. When a kid comes and sits on the bed, it's about 1 a.m, for Madison it was, and then she comes and has a deep and meaningful conversation. I'm deaf, so my hearing aids come out, and I sleep, but Lisa talks. I know they're talking away and having some deep and meaningful conversation.
Yeah, I'd say that the best conversations with our kids have been late at night, around midnight, and you know, we could easily say...
Especially when they're teens.
Particularly when they're teens and young adults. And you could say to them, go away, but in the end you go, hang on, what's wrong, sweetie? Come and talk to me. And you then find that they will open their hearts in the most beautiful ways at that really crazy time at night.
Yep. Number 6, bedtime rituals matter, especially when they're younger, but it builds a pattern for when they're older. Our children need to go to sleep feeling secure, loved and hopeful about the day to come.
Okay, so from the time Andrew was 6 months old till he was probably 15-ish, I read Bible stories every single night to our children. And
listen to their prayers.
And listen to their prayers.
And said prayer over them.
And said prayer over them. Darren was often out. Like he's probably been home more in the evenings than a lot of pastors are because we really valued that evening time. We just made things work. And he also had churches with older populations in country towns, and they really liked their business meetings at 1 a.m. on a Tuesday afternoon.
1 p.m.
Well, sorry, 1 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon.
Not 1 a.m.
Not 1 a.m. And so we did that. It was the ritual, and we would also talk about God and what we believed on our way to school in the mornings, and we'd often, well, most of the time, we'd pray as we were heading to school. That was kind of like our little... Not our whole family, but that was family worship for us. And because I was more consistently there with Darren's job in North New South Wales, that allowed me to build that closeness with my children that we still have.
Yeah. And think about reading a bedtime story. I love this quote. If we tell them enough stories, they will have encountered hard questions and practice living through so many trials, hardships, and unexpected situations that, God willing, they will have what they need to become heroes of their own stories. I love that quote. In other words, reading stories, good stories to our children builds resilience.
And our kids, like many kids do in the Adventist Church, did advanced English, and both of them had texts that had biblical themes in them. And it was really quite amazing. Our kids got the richness and the depths of the text. They were able to find a related text because they had that biblical background. And it's one of the things you really wouldn't expect. But if you're doing Shakespeare and 18th century, 17th century poetry, you need that biblical background to be able to understand what the author is actually getting at. And so our kids got that because of the stories we read and the discussions we had. That was just simply an incidental or an extra from our everyday lifestyle. Andrew's texts in, I think, the second English paper, the response, the text was actually one that Darren had had at home. It had been in a newspaper. We had talked about it. So that gave him an advantage. So by talking and reading wildly, we are actually giving our kids pre-knowledge for them to be able to excel at school.
Number 7, again, the changing over to a PowerPoint from a keynote's mucked it up, but basically the essence is the power of the slow meal. There's so much research around regular meals and sitting together and eating together and having that slow conversation, eating with extended family and friends, and hearing the stories of grandma and great-grandma and grandpa, the grandpa that dug the well and put clay all over our backyard, all those sorts of stories.
The great-grandfather who...
Ran his buggy through the budgerigar cage.
Yes, but he was also the great-grandfather who worked in Australia and New Zealand along with Pastor Repton to allow Australians to be exempt from carrying weapons in military service.
Yeah.
And so for us, that's really important. So it's a story of faith and what people did to maintain their belief system and their love of God.
Find their identity in the family story as well, which fosters resilience in a powerful way.
It's even my grandmother, who over 30 years delivered nearly 7,000 babies in Papua New Guinea. It was lives of service that have impacted on us.
Number 8, hugs and empathy matter. In fact, research says a 20-second hug can help your kid grow smarter, healthier, happier, and more resilient and closer to you. So those stopping and pausing, asking, would a hug help? Ask permission to hug. If they say yes, hug. Offer those hugs, especially to your children, even in the teenage years, even now.
Even as an adult, don't give up on... When my dad gives me a hug, it's so special, and he's 81 and I'm 54.
Research shows it can boost well-being. I also find that if a child is struggling, one of the best things that we can do is hug them. In fact, the times our children deserve our hugs the least are the times they need them most.
Hug first, work out consequences second.
Yeah, I love that. Number 9, especially for when they get into those teenage years, and especially for boys, but girls too, help your child realise that they are not the centre of the universe. 80% of school students report that their parents teach them that personal achievement is more important than caring for others. That's sad. So often getting involved in serving, whether it's a soup kitchen or a food bank or whatever, but finding some way to serve. My kids, we went and made balloons. They know how to make balloons. We went and served at camps with balloons and made balloons for unfortunate children or disabled children, and that made a big impact on them. On this, Amy Moran, who wrote this book, which is really worth getting, said, strive to raise a kind and caring child who recognises the need of others in addition to their own. Teach them to focus more on what they can give rather than what they can take from others. It builds resilience in a powerful way. Replace selfishness with kindness, entitlement with gratitude, narcissism with healthy self-esteem, self-importance with humility.
And I think what we need to realise here is that our children will show us selfishness, they will show self-centredness. Can you just go back a slide, Daron? Okay, they will probably be kind of narcissistic at times, they will be self-important at times. They will try them on, and that's okay, because we use that as a teaching moment to say, hey, I can understand why you might need to be like this at times, but do you think this is how you want to be viewed by everyone around you? Oh, so you think you deserve that? Sorry. And I think I know our bluntest parenting conversations probably came around entitlement. And I was the parent, because my kids got to go to big camp at no cost in North New South Wales, that because they were there and Daron was working and I was doing things like feeding his team, our kids ended up with jobs, and we'd say to them, you are here to serve, you go to your meetings, but you're not wandering around thinking that you're a bigwig because of your father's job. Sorry, your job is to serve. I think I was probably a bit blunter in my language than that.
And they were both running divisions at a very young age.
Yeah, so at 19 they were both running divisions. They had helped from early on. Both kids, when Daron had someone pulled out at the last minute, they volunteered to step in and to run the division. Yes, we helped them lots, but it was because from when they were really little, we would say, yes, we make sure we're safe, but then let's look and see what else we can do around us. Who is out here that we can help? Oh, so the people running kindergarten, Madison, they need someone to be inside a giraffe suit, and you're amazing. And so she did that at about 14. Yeah. And I have no regrets about doing that. Some people will say, do your kids, you didn't give your kids a lot of free time. They had free time in the afternoon to run around and to do whatever they want, but we made sure that there were dedicated times of service whenever we were serving, because I said, you are here with great privilege. With great privilege comes
great
responsibility. And your responsibility is to serve because you are here when other people can't be here. So maybe that's an unpopular way of doing things, but it's how Daron and I did it. And we think with our kids it worked. It didn't mean that we didn't have grumbling and we didn't have moments of it. But then as they got older, it's really gone into their careers. And I'm glad that we actually made concerted efforts to teach them to be considerate for others.
Yeah. Number 10, which brings us to unschedule yourself and your children, allow time for free play. Sometimes less really is more when it comes to our kids. In other words, don't have their schedule so full at school, at church and at home. They need time to be bored and to just play, free play. So yeah.
And you know what, free play can actually be on an afternoon here at church when the adults are here, but the kids have things to do, and that's okay.
Yeah. Number 11, when behaviours are challenging, and they will be, remain calm, lean in, don't take shortcuts. When we remember that challenging behaviour comes from unmet needs, and we see that challenging behaviour as a chance to get close to our children and problem solve with them, we build our relationships rather than tear them down.
I don't think I passed that one too well.
But you stuck to this bit of it. Stick to your guns, insisting that children do their chores, holding them accountable and refusing to give in helps them learn important life lessons.
My son absolved me of that one. He said, Mum, you didn't give up even when we were being really rude, and if you got cranky, you'd probably already tried every other method of parenting there was. And I'm going to tell tales on me. I got really cranky at Andrew when he was nearly 21. And don't ever do this. He walked past me mouthing off about how awful it was that he happened to be at home and it wasn't fair that he had to unpack the dishwasher. And I whacked his backside as he walked past me. Do you know, he didn't argue with me again. And I mean, I'm telling tales on myself here. Madison one day, in an effort to get out of chores, she told me, Mum, I love you. You're my best friend. And I went, excuse me?
Go and do the dishwasher.
You're not my best friend. I'm your parent, and don't forget that. Now, and as I'm saying, I'm telling you my not so stellar moments of parenting where you go, oh my goodness. But Madison says to me, Mum, that really hurt my feelings at that point in time. I think she was 10. She said, but you did parent really well, and it was important that I knew that you were the person in charge, and that was about boundaries. And I could see her peers, whose parents were like friends, sharing alcohol with their daughters at 16. That's not kosher. And so Madison was really glad that we actually did parent and we gave her boundaries, and I think we're probably pretty good friends now.
And that's where our number 12 comes in, offering autonomy, choices, but also those boundaries and having that balance, which we've already talked about in the earlier session as well.
And sometimes, Daron, I know this, sometimes I think to parent properly, we actually kind of do need to hurt our children's feelings. And I don't believe in damaging their spirits, but sometimes when they're being really rude, they need to know that it is completely inappropriate to be rude. It's just not socially acceptable. And so it's a matter of, oi, what are you doing? This is inappropriate. And my classic is I walked past a school door and I heard my son say something that I didn't like him saying to his English teacher, and she was the head teacher. She let him get away with it. I backed up and knocked on the door and went, excuse me, I need Andrew for a minute. Come on. Got him out, dragged him around the corner, gave him an absolute verbal dressing down about how he had spoken to his teacher was unacceptable, that we did not talk to any human being like that. It actually wasn't even bad. It was more the tone of voice rather than what he said. And took him back to class, made him apologise. He then sat down and I said to the teacher, if he ever speaks to you like that again, please tell me, because we don't tolerate that. And she was my head teacher at the time, and she said to me afterwards, why were you so upset? I said, simply because he was insolent in how he spoke to you, and basically that's not Christian. It wasn't kind, it wasn't respectful. You had given him and the class a task, and I don't care what the rest of the kids are doing. He just needs to put his head down and do the work. And so that's where a lot of the fights came from in our house, is that we were respectful, but kids at times need to know that no means no, and you just simply have to do what you were told. It's often safety or expedience, but we still have lots of kindness and lots of love, but in that instant, when they're given the instruction, they just need to comply with it.
Yeah. Number
Sorry,
13,
Daron.
we're just walking the time to do the balloon dog, but we'll get there. 13, play with them. The power of fun. Take time to have fun, make fun. Board games are really good at this when it comes to our kids. Now, go through quickly, get through to the last of them. Play with them. True fun is a confluence of playfulness, connection and flow. Whenever these three states occur at the same time, we experience true fun. Try and create those times for your kids. Number 14, save their art, their presents they give you, and display them. They bring them home from school. They've made it. Look at this, Mum. Look at this, Dad. Create somewhere you can keep them on the fridge, on top of the fridge, on a shelf, by your bed. At work, I've still got some of my daughter's things at work. Save their art presents. It gives them an idea that Mum and Dad actually do care about what they do. And yeah. Number 15, tell them you love them and are proud of them and who they are regularly.
We do that, and we always have, but I didn't realise how much it mattered. I'm not a card person. I don't write cards, and that's just me. Daron is the card writer.
Yep.
But put into writing that you love your kids and you're proud of them at least every couple of months. It really, really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Some kids' love language is you giving that to them in writing.
And that's the thing, is learning what their love language is and using that to communicate regularly that you love your kids.
So Madison, it's a card. Andrew, it's food.
Yeah, very much so. And that ends that session. Got one more thing to do in the 5 minutes. I think we can do. I've got the balloon plant ready to go. We're going to do a resilience balloon. We're all going to make it, mums and dads and children.
Do we need to do the cars first?
Let's check on the cars, Lisa. You want to go for a wander and see how far we got.
Is this our last session?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Okay, guys, have we got finished cars?
How far did you get? If Lisa wants to check the cars while I get the balloons out. You have to have a piece, but they're pretty well there. Good.
Oh, you guys have done way better than me. Yeah, that is so good. On your own, no help. That's good. It is very, very hard, and we chose this on purpose. Okay, do we want everyone on the ground?
Yeah, maybe you can sit in the front.
Okay, children, young people, young adults. Guys, come down the front.
Children, younger children come to the front, we can help you. Have you all got a balloon? Rest of the children, any adults that don't have a balloon that want one to make one as well?
Wow.
That's pretty well it. Look at that.
Ship it to the Highlands. He'd never pulled a car to bits. It ended up in the Highlands where they were going to work. and he put it back together. Apparently he had 3 or 4 bolts left, but the car worked for the next 20 years.
Okay, well, stop and listen. When I say stop and listen, because balloons are noisy,
Okay,
we're going to stop and listen.
should we put hands on heads or hands in our laps?
Hands in our laps, yep. What those cars taught you was, even though you had no instructions, you used your problem-solving skills together
Your cognitive skills.
to build the car, and you all did pretty well. And I don't think any of you gave up, and that's resilience. It's not giving up, keeping on trying and solving the problems, maybe pulling apart and building up again and getting to the end. That's pretty good. So, when it comes to balloons, if I say stop and listen, because my voice is going, we stop and listen.
Use your microphone, don't yell.
Pardon?
Use your microphone.
Yeah. It's on, down there? Yeah.
Yep.
We always start at the knotted end, because all the air goes through to this end. So, most balloons I make, I always start there. Always twist in the same direction. Because I'm left-handed. Anybody here left-handed? You are? Yep, we'll twist a bit differently. They say we are the creative people. But I will twist differently. So will you too. But if you make all your twists in the same direction, it won't come undone. And if you master the twist I show you, then help those next to you, especially mums and dads, help the younger ones
So,
as well.
Daron, I always twist towards myself, so I hold it in my left hand
Yep.
like this because I'm right-handed. I use my right hand to twist towards me, and I twist it 3 times.
Yep, that's right. All twists are 3 times. Now, and finally, if your balloon goes kaboom, don't cry. Put your hand up. I will come and help you and catch you up and give you another one and keep going. So, find the knotted end. Watch Pastor Daron first. I'm going to do 3 bubbles. This bubble, watch me first, a second, and a third. I'm bringing bubbles 2 and 3 together and twisting it, pulling it out slightly, 1, 2, 3 times. That's your first twist. Now I'll come and help you.
You need
Lisa
one
will
more
too.
bubble.
Are you doing one
No.
bubble?
One more bubble here. Yep. Yep. And then pop it together.
Like that.
And then twist
Have
the
a go.
ends.
Don't just get me to do it for you. Have a go. 1 bubble, 2 bubbles, 3 bubbles. Twist them together. 1, 2, 3. Yep.
Yes.
1 bubble, 2 bubbles,
And one was
3
one.
bubbles. Twist them. 1, 2.
Hey, who
3.
else needs help?
Down here. You've got 1 bubble, 2 bubbles.
got- you've
Yep.
got-
Down,
okay,
down here.
so-
Hold down there. And twist the 3rd bubble next to it. Twist it right
Are
around.
you left or right hand?
Yep. 1,
Okay, like this.
2,
1,
3.
and
You've
then
got it.
hold it in your hand. Slide your hand down.
1 bubble,
Twist 1,
2 bubbles,
3 towards
3
you.
bubbles.
Slide
Twist
it
them.
down.
Twist them right around.
3rd
1,
bubble. And then we lock together.
3. Who else needs
Oops,
help?
I let you
Yep.
in.
1 bubble, 2 bubbles, 3 bubbles. Twist it right there. Twist it, twist it, twist it. Yep.
And then we're going to do that again for their feet.
Got yours? You know what you're doing. You've done it before, haven't you?
Okay,
Yep.
some
Good
children
help.
might need some
Anybody
help
else need help down your
because
back?
hands are little and it's really hard to hold the balloon if your hands are little.
Let me help you. 2 bubbles, 3 bubbles.
Yep, just twist it.
You're really trying to
Don't raise
twist
it.
them
Twist
right
it.
around. 2, 3.
Like that. So just pull it a little as you twist.
Okay, I think we've all
There you
got
go.
it. Just having a look. Well done, well done, well done. Okay, I want you to hold your balloons like this. Put it under your arm like this. Give yourselves a clap. Because you've just passed balloon twisting 101. Knowing that twist, you can make all sorts of animals now. That is the basic balloon twist.
But it's not finished.
Pardon?
You're not finished.
No, you're not finished yet. We're going to practice that again. So I'm going to do a small bubble for the neck, and a front leg, another front leg, and bring the front legs together at the neck and twist it 1, 2, 3 times. So small bubble, big bubble, big bubble. Bring those 2 big bubbles together and twist them for the front legs. Got a neck, one
Yep,
there.
bubble.
I'm helping. Bring them together and twist.
They pop less when you're confident with twisting them.
And that's it.
So if you're firm with it, if you're
There you go. You have your front legs. You got your neck there.
Yep, that's it.
I'll help
and then
you. I'll help
there.
you. Yep, front
And
leg.
then twist and just
Twist
pull
them
it
there.
apart slightly.
Right around.
As you twist
1,
it, pull it apart
2,
slightly, and that
3.
stops the balloon rubbing. And it stops
You've done
the
it. Well
friction,
done.
And they're less likely to
Can I
catch.
help you?
Yeah, that's
front
it.
leg, front leg, front leg.
Yep.
Twist them there. Twist it right around.
And
There
so
you
see
go.
how I've done that? I've
You've
just
got
pulled it apart slightly, and that stops
How are we
it
going
breaking.
here? Front leg, front leg, front leg. Yep, twist it there.
That was the thing. Once I learnt that, that was my biggest thing to
There you go. Yep.
Yep. So, and then you just
You got
have
a big
to
long
straighten
leg.
them up. So that's
How are
that's
you
the
going?
head, and
Oh,
that's
you
the
haven't
feet.
done. Let me fix it.
And then we just repeat
There,
that on the end.
there, twist those.
So that's the feet.
Neck,
So
front leg,
Yep.
front leg.
That's your nose.
Twist those.
There you go.
Yep, just like that.
Yep. And then you repeat that
There
with
you
your
go.
feet on the end, and then
How
you've
are we
done your
going
dog.
there? Yep, you got it there.
So
Now you've got
I'll show
twist-
you.
got
See,
your neck there.
Body,
Yep, twist those.
foot.
1, 2, 3. There we go. Who else needs help?
Yeah. Have you got your
That's
feet?
all right. That's a sausage
You
dog.
want some help?
I don't know how to hold it.
Okay. So probably
yours, yep.
neck.
Okay,
See how I'm
stop
using my
and
hands?
listen. Now comes the hard part
And then give it.
because we need to do
then
a
do it
body,
back feet.
2 back legs and leave a tail. You have a big, where'd that go?
Who needs a new balloon?
Where'd that go pop? Down there. Somewhere down there. I'm going to catch up quickly. So 2 ears. And we have a neck and 2 front legs. If you have a big, long bit left, it becomes a sausage dog. You have a small bit left, it becomes a chihuahua. But we need a body, 2 back legs, and leave enough for the tail, and bring those 2 back legs together and twist it 3 times to finish your dog. A body, 2 back
You've
legs,
got it
and leave a
right.
tail. A big long tail.
Then you know you just
Wanna go
twist
there?
it round and you're done.
Okay. Body,
That's awesome.
2 back legs, and twist it. 1, 2, 3. There it is. Body, 2 back legs, and leave a tail. Want a body there? Yep, that's your neck. And a big long tail. A body there. 2 back legs. Twist them together. Right around. 1, 2, 3. And there is your dog. Well done. Body. You want a short tail? Twist those together. Right around. 1, 2, 3. And there is your dog with a big long neck. Are we going? Need help?
That's good.
Got a body? Yep, twist that there for your leg. Just right around. 1, 2, 3. Got yours? A body? Where do you want your body? There?
That is so good.
2 back legs. Twist it right there. 1,
I know.
3.
I've got little fingers
And there it is.
I still struggle holding the balloons, but as you get
Perfect.
older, your fingers will get longer and it'll be easier.
Excellent. Bring his head around there.
Darren used to be able to get some balloons that were only 1 inch.
Body.
This, it's called a
2 back
260,
legs.
so 2 inches
Twist it.
wide by
1,
60 inches
2,
wide.
3.
They were
And there
American made,
is
and
your
that's where the
dog.
standard came from. But they were 1 inch, so they're 2.5 centimetres in diameter, and they're really easy for little hands to hold, but we can't get them anymore. The company that, yeah, so these are wider, and these ones
Right,
are narrower,
yep.
and they They're much easier
Good.
for me, please.
Oh, it's leaking.
Okay. Stop and listen. You've all done very well.
Yeah, who was it who had the leak for the balloon?
And here's the thing. If you hold up your dogs for me so I can see them. I gave the same instructions, but every dog is different.
Daron?
Some have a longer neck.
Photo.
Maybe you turn around and look at the back, look at a photo. Hold up your dogs.
Here you go.
Yep. So all your dogs are different. Here's the thing, accepting that you're different is part of resilience. God has given us each our own gifts, our own abilities. I didn't know when I did my first dog now nearly 30 years ago that I was going to become the balloon man. But that's a gift that God gave me. I kept on practicing and didn't give up and kept on twisting despite the pops and turned into the balloon man. God has given you a gift. He's given you resilience. Trust him and he will do something beautiful with your life. Let's finish with prayer. 1, 2, 3. Dear Jesus, thank you that you love us so much. You gave us challenges to do, just like done with cards and we've done with the car and with the balloon dog. You give us challenges in life too. But we can bounce back. We can be resilient. We can take those risks because you love us. We have a church that loves us and we have parents that love us too. Help us to grow and find our gifting in you and to be resilient. And we know you'll do amazing things through us and for us. So bless this church. Bless all it does. Bless its pastor, bless its leaders. Most of all, help us to grow closer and closer towards you. As we pray in thy name. Amen. Thank you and God bless you each one. It's been a pleasure.
Hello, yes. Today, this marks the final section of our parenting seminars series. And we would like to take this opportunity, take this moment to express our heartfelt thanks to Pastor Daron and Lisa.
Okay.
Over the past three sessions, we have not only gained valuable knowledge and practical skills, but most importantly, we have
so
received
much.
encouragement and inspiration from both of you too. We know that organizing this seminar has not been easy, and with our different schedules and activities and many demands on Pastor Daron's and time, but yet Pastor Daron has committed and persistent deliver all these three sessions to us. And on behalf of all of us here, that we truly appreciate your time, Pastor Daron and Lisa, and your efforts and dedications.
Thank you.
Winnie, on behalf of the church, and express some little gift to Pastor Daron and Lisa. So we would like to thank God to continue to bless Pastor Daron and Lisa, to you and your family and your ministry. And I think Pastor Daniel will do the prayer for Pastor Daron. Is that right?
I just want to say, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to come here. Thank you for being resilient. We've had to change some of the timing, what we did. It's the first time that Lisa has come and presented with me in ages. Ever. So I've really enjoyed having her. It's helped my voice, and her practical examples have really, I believe, added to the presentation. So despite her being a busy teacher, she's taken her sabbath to come and be here too. So thank you, Lisa, for coming and helping.
Thank you. We just wanted to show you that despite imperfect parenting, God works with us. And there were many, many, many times that we were very definitely pretty awful parents, probably. You know, our kids. Be
authentic.
We're authentic, and our kids have grown up well because God is with us with our parenting. We're just happy to share with you, and thank you for accepting us how we are.
And thank you for your beautiful gifting.
These are so awesome.
Lovely. We'll go home and enjoy them. Thank you very much.
All right, so we're going to say a prayer for you, Pastor Daron, and also Lisa. Let's put our hands together for words of prayer, shall we? Okay, put our hands together. 1, 2, 3. Our Father in heaven, dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you very much that you have blessed our church and blessed all our parents and children with Pastor Daron and also Mrs. Lisa. Thank you so much that you have given them this love in their heart and also this wisdom and knowledge and also their willingness and faithfulness to come to our Chinese church to teach our parents and children on how to become a better family. I pray that may God bless Pastor Daron and also Lisa, that they can continuously to go to other places and other churches to do a better work for you, and also continuously to bless other people wherever they go. And may your Holy Spirit, your double portion of your Holy Spirit be with them, especially with Lisa, so that her health can continuously to return and also to recover. And also may God protect them away from all harm and dangers. And please bless all our parents in this church here, that God will be with them, give them wisdom, courage, and faithfulness in you, so that they can lead and also to guide and also to teach their children to come close to you. Forgive us, Father, for our sin. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Can I take a little opportunity, okay? Adventurer, listen. Adventurer. Okay, how about can we have a special encouragement to Pastor Daron and Auntie Lisa? Can you put your balloon on your seat and ready your hand and ready our special encouragement, okay? Ready? Hang on. Where is Pastor Daron? Okay, good. Where is Auntie Winnie? Auntie Lisa. Okay, ready? Okay, Kingsley, can you lead out? 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Pastor Daron and Auntie Lisa.